Procrastination is the silent killer of progress. It promises rest but delivers regret. It makes you feel like you're preserving energy, but really, it's draining your momentum. And the longer you delay what matters, the harder it becomes to start. Every day you wait, the mountain grows taller, not smaller. But the good news is this: procrastination is not a personality, it's a pattern. And patterns can be changed. In this message, I'll show you 5 ways to stop procrastinating and start producing. These aren't gimmicks, they're principles, timeless truths I've applied in my own life and passed along to thousands of others. If you put these into practice, you'll stop making excuses and start making progress. Because as I always say, nothing feels better than getting things done. Let's begin by understanding why we procrastinate. It's rarely about laziness. More often, it's fear, fear of failure, fear of imperfection, fear of discomfort, or it's confusion. We don't know where to start. The key is to stop labeling yourself and start managing your state. You're not a procrastinator, you're just someone who needs a better system. The first way to beat procrastination is to break big tasks into smaller ones. One of the biggest reasons we delay action is because the job feels overwhelming. You look at the mountain and decide it's too much, so you wait. But what you must remember is this: you don't have to climb the whole mountain today. Just take the next step. Shrink the task. Turn write the book into write 1 page. Turn get in shape into go for a 20-minute walk. Momentum builds quickly when the task feels manageable, and once you begin, the resistance weakens. As I always say, you don't need massive action, you need movement. Start small and keep going. The second way is to set deadlines, not desires. Many people say, I want to do this, or I hope to get to that. But hope is not a plan. What gets scheduled gets done. When you assign a specific time to a task, you turn intention into commitment. And that shift is what creates results. Get your calendar involved. Give your goals a time and a place to happen. Even if it's just 15 minutes a day, put it in writing. Put it on the clock. That small change alone can transform your productivity. As I always say, don't trust yourself to remember. Trust your schedule to remind. The third way is to eliminate distractions before they start. Most people try to focus in environments designed to break it. You've got 10 tabs open, your phone buzzing, music playing, and people walking in, and you wonder why you can't concentrate. Focus isn't just about willpower, it's about design. You must design your space for production, not procrastination. Turn off notifications. Clear your workspace. Close the door. Tell the world, this time is sacred. When your environment supports your goal, your actions follow. As I always say, discipline becomes easier when distractions become fewer. Make focus the default, not the struggle. The fourth way is to create accountability. When no one knows your deadline, it's easy to move it. But when someone's watching, someone who respects you and expects results, you tend to follow through. Accountability is a powerful motivator because it makes procrastination visible. Find a partner, a mentor, a peer. Share your goal and your deadline. Ask them to check in. This small layer of pressure can produce big results. As I always say, what gets tracked gets improved, and what gets shared gets done. Don't isolate your ambition, invite someone to hold you to it. The fifth and final way to beat procrastination is to tie your action to your identity. This is the deepest layer, because at the end of the day, we act according to who we believe we are. If you see yourself as someone who always delays, you'll live that story. But if you begin to say, I'm the kind of person who follows through, your habits will start to match that belief. Change your internal dialogue. Every time you act on a task, say to yourself, this is what producers do. This is who I am now. The repetition of that identity will rewire your behavior. And as I always say, when the identity changes, the actions follow. You're not just doing the work. You're becoming the kind of person who does the work. Let's review the 5 ways to stop procrastinating and start producing. First, break big tasks into smaller ones. Second, assign deadlines to your goals. Third, eliminate distractions before they start. Fourth, create real accountability. Fifth, align your actions with your identity. These 5 steps will take you from stuck to steady, from someday to now. I remember mentoring a young man who told me he had big dreams but no momentum. He wanted to write a book, start a business, and get in shape, all great things. But every week he had excuses instead of results. So I asked him, what's your next smallest step? He said, just 20 minutes a day. I said, good start today. I'll call you tomorrow. That call changed everything. Within 90 days, he had written 10 chapters, built a website, and lost 15 pounds. Why? Because he stopped waiting for motivation and started building momentum. And once the momentum came, the motivation followed. That's how it works. Action first, feeling later. So here's the truth. You don't need more time. You don't need more talent. You need to start scared, start unsure, start imperfect. But start, because once you do, everything begins to shift. And as you build the habit of action, you build the habit of success. Motivation is a wonderful spark, but it was never meant to be the fire. It comes quickly and leaves quietly. One moment you're ready to conquer the world, and the next you're wondering why you even started. And if you rely on motivation to carry you, you'll only show up when the weather's good. But success isn't seasonal, it's daily. And the truth is, those who achieve their goals don't stay committed because they're always motivated. They stay committed because they've built something stronger. In this message, I want to show you 5 ways to stay committed when motivation fades, because it will phase. That's not a sign of weakness. It's a part of being human. The key is to prepare for those moments ahead of time so they don't knock you off course. As I always say, don't build your life on feelings. Build it on foundations. And commitment is one of the strongest foundations you can lay. The first way to stay committed is to decide ahead of time. Most people make decisions in the moment. When it's hard, when they're tired, when the excuses feel louder than the reason they started. But commitment isn't made on the battlefield. It's made before the battle even begins. You've got to decide that quitting is not an option before it becomes tempting. That kind of decision creates what I call mental non-negotiables. It means no matter how you feel, no matter what changes around you, your standard stays the same, you still show up, you still execute, you still honor your word. And when your mind starts whispering reasons to stop, you've already given it an answer. As I always say, decisions made in peace are more powerful than excuses made in pressure. So decide before the moment arrives. The second way is to build structure that supports your commitment. When motivation fades, it's structure that keeps you moving. Routines, systems, habits. These are the rails that keep the train going even when the engine slows. You can't just hope you'll feel like doing the work. You have to plan for it, automate it, make it part of your day before it becomes part of your doubt. Create a schedule that aligns with your goals. Block out the time, remove the guesswork. Give every action a home on your calendar. That way your commitment isn't left to chance, it's reinforced by design. As I always say, structure doesn't restrict freedom, it creates it. The more disciplined your system, the less you have to rely on willpower alone. The third way to stay committed is to remember your reason. Every journey has difficult days, those mornings when you wake up and wonder if it's worth it. And the quickest way to lose commitment is to forget why you began. Your why must be louder than your weariness. It must speak clearly when motivation grows quiet. Write it down. Speak it out loud. Remind yourself daily. Your reason might be your family, your future, your calling, your legacy. Whatever it is, don't let it drift into the background. Bring it front and center. As I always say, when the purpose is clear, the process becomes bearable. Let your reason refuel your resolve. The fourth way is to track your progress. One of the biggest causes of quitting is the illusion that nothing's working. When people can't see growth, they assume there is none. But results are often subtle. They show up slowly. That's why you must keep a record. Track your efforts, not just your outcomes. Celebrate the inputs, what you did, not just what it got you. Did you show up today? Did you put in the work? That matters. Write it down. Create a scoreboard. Let your eyes see what your emotions can't always feel. And over time, you'll build evidence that commitment pays off even when motivation takes a break. As I always say, progress doesn't shout, it whispers. But if you're listening, it speaks volumes. The fifth and final way to stay committed is to surround yourself with commitment. Motivation may start alone, but commitment is strengthened in community. When you're around people who push forward, who stay the course, who refuse to quit, you start to absorb their mindset. Their example sharpens yours. Their consistency challenges yours. Their victories inspire yours. Choose your circle wisely. Join a group, find a mentor, surround yourself with stories of endurance. Let their journey remind you that you're not the only one walking through resistance. As I always say, isolation weakens. Drive, connection strengthens it. The right environment turns ordinary people into committed achievers. These 5 ways are not just techniques. They are tools to shape your life around consistency. When motivation shows up, great, ride the wave. But when it doesn't, don't panic. Just go back to your decision. Lean on your structure. Revisit your reason. Review your progress. And reach out to your circle. I've seen it time and again. A young man or woman starts with fire in their eyes. They have dreams, goals, a fresh plan. And for the first few weeks, they're unstoppable. But then comes the storm, the distraction, the delay, the moment when the hype fades and reality sets in. And that's when the real decision is made. Will you show up without the applause? Will you keep going without the spotlight? Because that's what separates dreamers from doers. Dreamers wait for the feeling. Doers show up, no matter how they feel. And that's the kind of person you're becoming, not someone who needs perfect conditions, but someone who creates results in imperfect ones. That's what commitment is. It's not emotion, it's endurance. And once you master that, there's nothing you can't build. There's something powerful about a man or woman of character. Not charm, not image, but character. The kind of person who does what's right when no one's watching. The kind of person whose actions and values match. That's character. And let me tell you, it doesn't just happen. You don't wake up one day and find it under your pillow. You build it, brick by brick, habit by habit, day by day. So today, I want to talk to you about how to build character through daily habits. You see, your habits shape who you become. What you do repeatedly becomes what you believe, and what you believe determines how you behave. You don't need some grand event to change your life. You need small, consistent choices that reflect the kind of person you want to be. As I always say, success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. And character is no different. The first way to build character through daily habits is to keep your word. That may sound simple, even old-fashioned, but I'll tell you, it's one of the most powerful habits you can develop. If you say you're going to do something, do it. If you say you'll be there, show up. If you promise to follow through, follow through. Not because someone's watching, not because it's easy, but because it's who you are. Keeping your word trains your integrity. Like a muscle, it might be uncomfortable at first, especially when the emotions wear off and the excitement fades. But every time you keep your word, even in small things, you're strengthening a core part of your character. You become someone others can trust. More importantly, you become someone you can trust. And that, my friend, is invaluable. The second way is to develop the habit of doing the right thing, even when it's inconvenient. It's easy to do the right thing when there's a reward attached, or when the world is watching. But true character is revealed in quiet moments, when no one will know and there's nothing to gain. That's when you find out who you really are. Each day, life gives you small opportunities to practice this. Do you take responsibility or shift the blame? Do you return the shopping cart or leave it for someone else? Do you choose kindness over sarcasm, honesty over image, courage over comfort? Those choices may seem minor, but they're training you. You're either building a habit of character or a habit of compromise. Let me tell you a story. I once knew a man who was offered a shortcut, one that would have made him a lot of money. It was legal, technically, but it wasn't right. It didn't align with his values. He walked away from that deal and made less money in the short term. But years later, that same integrity earned him more trust, more influence, and more lasting success than any shortcut ever could. That's what character does. It compounds. The third habit is self-discipline. Oh yes, this one's big. Self-discipline is doing what you know you should do, even when you don't feel like it. It's showing up when you'd rather sleep in. It's saying no to what's easy so you can say yes to what's excellent. It's choosing to delay gratification today for the sake of greater reward tomorrow. Every time you resist an urge that doesn't serve you, whether it's to scroll, skip, lash out, or quit, you're not just avoiding a bad decision, you're reinforcing who you are. You're saying, I'm the kind of person who follows through. I'm the kind of person who keeps standards high. That kind of repetition shapes your identity. And once your identity changes, your behavior changes with it. I always say discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. And character walks across that bridge every day. So train your discipline like a skill. Build it through small, consistent acts. Getting up early, exercising your mind, sticking to your commitments, managing your emotions. Don't aim for perfect. Aim for persistent. Because persistence outlasts perfection every time. Psalm. The fourth habit is humility. Now, humility isn't thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less. It's remembering that no matter how much you know, there's more to learn. No matter how far you've come, there's room to grow. Humility keeps your ego in check and your mind open. Build the habit of listening before speaking, of learning before leading, of serving without needing credit. It's easy to seek the spotlight, but real character knows when to step aside so others can shine. It knows when to lift others up without needing applause. And it knows that your value doesn't come from volume. It comes from virtue. When you practice humility daily, you become more approachable, more teachable, and more trustworthy. People respect someone who leads with wisdom, not arrogance. Someone who has power but doesn't flaunt it. Someone who has answers but still asks questions. That's the kind of leader the world needs. That's the kind of person character produces. And the fifth habit, the one that ties all the others together, is reflection. If you don't pause to examine your actions, your choices, your motives, you'll repeat the same mistakes. Or worse, you'll develop blind spots. And blind spots left unchecked can derail everything. Make it a daily habit to reflect. Ask yourself, did I act with integrity today? Did I keep my word? Did I honor others? Did I live out my values? Where did I fall short? Where did I grow? You don't have to write a novel, just a few minutes each day to realign yourself with the kind of person you want to become. Reflection turns experience into wisdom, and wisdom is what refines your character. As I always say, don't just live life, examine it, because the examined life builds a legacy worth leaving. Let me say this to you. Building character is not a glamorous process. It's not loud or flashy. It's not always rewarded right away, but it is the kind of work that compounds. It builds a foundation so strong that when pressure comes, and you won't crack, you won't compromise, you won't collapse, because you've trained yourself in the small things, and now you can be trusted with the big things. I once met a young woman who was struggling in her career. She felt overlooked, undervalued, tempted to cut corners or seek shortcuts, but instead she doubled down on her daily habits. She showed up early, stayed late, owned her mistakes, helped others, honored her word. No one saw it at first, but over time, people noticed. Trust grew, opportunities opened. She wasn't just another employee, she became someone people counted on. And it all started with habits. So if you want to be a person of substance, not just success, not just style, but true substance, start with your habits. Character isn't built in a moment of crisis. It's revealed there. And it's built every day before that. In the quiet, in the repetition, in the choices no one else sees. You don't need more talent. You don't need a platform. You don't even need perfect circumstances. What you need is commitment to who you want to become, and the discipline to back it up. Day in and day out, discipline is the bridge between thought and accomplishment. It's the silent partner of every success story. You don't always see it, but trust me, it's there, behind the scenes, holding the whole thing together. Without discipline, even the best plans fall apart. Without it, dreams remain daydreams. But when discipline becomes a daily habit, something extraordinary happens. Progress becomes predictable, growth becomes automatic, and success becomes inevitable. Now, I didn't always understand this. In my early days, I thought talent was enough. I thought desire would do the job. But I learned the hard way. Without discipline, you won't build anything that lasts. The good news is, discipline is not something you're born with. It's something you build. It's not a gift. It's a practice. And if you build it daily, you'll develop an edge that will separate you from the crowd. So today, I want to give you 5 ways to make discipline a daily habit. Not once in a while, not when you feel like it, but every single day. These practices are simple, but they're not easy. They'll require effort, they'll require awareness, but the rewards, oh, the rewards are worth it. As I always say, few will do what's difficult now so they can live a life others only dream of later. The first way to make discipline a daily habit is to win the first hour of your day. The way you begin determines how you behave. If the first hour of your day is lazy, reactive, and unplanned, chances are the rest of your day will follow that same pattern. But if you start with intention, if you choose to lead your day instead of follow it, everything changes. Develop a simple morning routine that aligns with your goals. Doesn't have to be elaborate. Maybe it's waking up at a consistent time, doing 15 minutes of reading, a short workout, reviewing your goals, or writing in a journal. What matters is that you start your day on purpose. Discipline grows when you begin with clarity and intention. As I always say, success is scheduled, so schedule your morning success every day. The second way is to do the hardest thing. First, every day presents you with one task that matters more than the rest. One task you tend to avoid. One task that requires focus, courage, or deep work. And the longer you wait to tackle it, the heavier it becomes. That's why you must train yourself to attack the hard things early. When you make a habit of doing what's difficult first, you condition yourself to stop running from discomfort. You learn that hard things are survivable, even rewarding. And you build mental momentum that carries you through the rest of the day. As I always say, discipline is doing what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. Get the hard thing done and watch your confidence grow. The third way to make discipline a habit is to shrink the goal, not the standard. Let me explain. Some days you won't have the energy to perform at your peak. Life will interrupt. Stress will press in. Time will be tight. On those days, don't throw the whole plan away. Adjust the size of the task, but never lower your commitment to doing something. Can't do an hour at the gym. Do 10 push-ups. Can't write a full chapter. Write 1 paragraph. Can't read for 30 minutes. Read for 5. The point is to maintain the streak, to keep the habit alive, even at a small scale. Because once you stop altogether, it gets harder to start again. As I always say, small disciplines are better than grand intentions, and consistency always beats intensity when it comes to habit building. The fourth way is to monitor your environment. People often underestimate the power of surroundings, but your environment plays a massive role in your ability to stay disciplined. If your space is cluttered, your phone is buzzing, the fridge is calling your name, and distractions are always nearby, your discipline will erode over time. Set up your life so that the disciplined choice becomes the default choice. Lay out your gym clothes the night before. Keep your workspace clean. Use apps that block distractions. Surround yourself with people who are pursuing growth, not escape. Your habits are not just a result of your will. They're a reflection of your environment. As I always say, don't just rely on discipline. Design for it. The fifth and final way to make discipline a daily habit is to track it. What gets measured gets improved. What gets recorded gets reinforced. If you're serious about making discipline a lifestyle, you've got to keep score. You've got to know how you're doing, where you're growing, and where you're slipping. Use a journal, a checklist, a simple calendar. Mark the days you showed up. Note what worked and what didn't. Reflect on your wins. Learn from your setbacks. You don't need a perfect streak. You need a pattern. And when you see that pattern forming, it'll motivate you to keep going. As I always say, don't trust your memory. Trust your records. They'll tell the truth when your feelings try to lie. Now let's be honest. Discipline isn't sexy. It doesn't always feel good in the moment, but it produces results that do. It gives you freedom. It gives you pride. It gives you momentum. And over time, it makes you unstoppable. I remember coaching a man who had all the right intentions, but none of the right systems. He had goals, he had ambition, but he kept breaking promises to himself. So I gave him a challenge. For 30 days, do one small discipline every single morning before checking your phone, before the world grabs your attention. Just one thing, and do it no matter what. He chose to read 10 pages a day. Just 10. Every morning, rain or shine, work day or weekend. And by the end of the month, something remarkable happened. Not only had he read an entire book, but his sense of identity changed. He began to see himself as disciplined, and that belief began to shape every other part of his life. That's the power of consistency. That's the power of small habits done daily. So, what's your one discipline? What's one thing you can start doing every day without fail to build the life you want? It doesn't have to be complicated. It has to be consistent. Maybe it's waking up earlier. Maybe it's journaling. Maybe it's turning your phone off for an hour a day. Start small. Start today. And start stacking those wins. Because the more wins you stack, the more confidence you build. And confidence fuels more discipline. It's a cycle, a compounding process. You're no longer depending on motivation. You're depending on the reputation you've built with yourself. And when you trust yourself to follow through, you unlock a new level of potential. You become the kind of person others look to, the kind who does what they say, the kind who leads by example. That's not just discipline, that's leadership. And the world needs more of it. Discipline isn't about being rigid, it's about being reliable. It's about showing up, not showing off. And when you make it a daily habit, you'll begin to feel the shift, not just in what you do, but in who you are. You'll look back 6 months from now and realize you've built something solid, something sustainable, something that won't collapse when life gets messy. Because you didn't just hope for change, you built it, brick by brick, habit by habit, day by day. And that, my friend, is the discipline difference. If there's one thing life promises, it's difficulty. Sooner or later, we all face hardship. That's not pessimism, it's preparation. The storms come, the winds blow, and if your roots aren't deep, you'll topple. Mental toughness isn't just a nice quality to have. It's a survival skill. It's the ability to stay steady when everything around you shakes. It's what separates those who grow from those who give up. And the good news, it's not something you're born with. It's something you build. You don't get mentally tough by reading about it. You get it by practicing it. Through trials, resistance, setbacks, and hard seasons. That's where your grit is forged. And if you handle it right, adversity doesn't break you, it builds you. So today, I want to walk you through 5 ways to build mental toughness through adversity. These aren't theories. These are tools, practical, repeatable, battle-tested tools for staying strong when things get hard. The first way to build mental toughness is to expect adversity, not resent it. Most people treat challenges like intruders. They're surprised when life doesn't go according to plan. But tough-minded people know better. They don't expect the path to be smooth. They expect it to require effort. They understand that struggle is part of the process. When you shift your mindset from why is this happening to me to this is training me, everything changes. You stop playing the victim. You start seeing the opportunity. And that switch gives you power. It doesn't make the pain disappear, but it gives the pain purpose. As I always say, don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. And adversity is how you get better. Think of it like the gym. Resistance isn't your enemy. It's how your muscles grow. No resistance, no strength, no adversity, no toughness. So when hardship shows up, don't shrink back, lean in. It's not personal, it's preparation. The second way to build mental toughness is to control what you can and release what you can't. In every difficult situation, there are two circles, your circle of control and your circle of concern. Mentally weak people obsess over what they can't control. The economy, other people's opinions, unexpected setbacks. And the more they focus on what's outside their control, the more powerless they feel. But mentally tough people stay anchored to what they can control. Their response, their attitude, their effort, their habits. They take full ownership of their part, and they let go of the rest. That's not avoidance. It's wisdom. It's emotional maturity. It's the discipline to direct your energy where it matters. You can't control the storm, but you can control how you steer your ship. You can't control the market, but you can control how you budget. You can't control what someone says about you, but you can control how you respond. That's power. That's strength. That's toughness. The third way to build mental toughness is to choose your language carefully. Words matter. The way you talk to yourself in hard times shapes your resilience. Negative self-talk weakens your mind faster than any outside pressure. But positive, disciplined self-talk fortifies you. It keeps you grounded, focused, and unshakable. Stop saying, "This is too much." Start saying, "This is tough, but I'm tougher." Don't say, "I can't handle this." Say, "I can handle the next step." Watch your words. They are seeds. Speak strength, not surrender. Speak progress, not panic. I remember a young entrepreneur I mentored. He hit a rough patch. Sales dried up. Bills piled up. Confidence dropped. But instead of spiraling into despair, he trained himself to say, "This is not the end of me. This is the shaping of me." Every morning he spoke that truth, and it carried him through. That's mental toughness, not ignoring the pain, but refusing to let the pain speak louder than your principles. The fourth way is to keep moving forward, especially when you don't feel like it. Adversity has a way of paralyzing people. They freeze, they overthink, they wait for clarity, for motivation, for perfect timing. But mentally tough people don't wait to feel ready. They move anyway. They take the next step, they keep the wheels turning. Progress doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to happen. One call, one workout, one page read, one promise kept. When life feels overwhelming, shrink the goal, but keep moving. Because movement creates momentum, and momentum can carry you through even the darkest day. There's power in showing up on your worst day, in your worst mood, with the least amount of strength. Why? Because that's when you're proving to yourself that you are not owned by your circumstances. You are governed by your values. And that's how mental toughness is built. Not in the easy days, but in the decision to show up when every excuse tells you not to. The fifth and final way to build mental toughness is to find meaning in your struggle. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, once said, "Those who have a why to live can bear almost anyhow," and I believe that. When your suffering has a purpose, it becomes bearable, even redemptive. Ask yourself, what is this adversity teaching me? What strength is it revealing? What lesson will I carry forward? How will this hardship refine me for my future? Don't just go through the pain. Grow through it. Let it deepen your wisdom, your empathy, your grit. I once went through a season where everything seemed to unravel. Finances tight, relationships strained, health declining. But I kept asking myself, what is this trying to teach me? And slowly clarity came. That season built things in me that no success ever could. It grounded me, humbled me, sharpened me. That's the upside of adversity. It carves out the person success will later rely on. Mental toughness isn't about never breaking. It's about breaking and rebuilding stronger. It's about bouncing back. Not because it's easy, but because you've decided that your mission matters more than your mood. It's about becoming someone adversity can't stop. And let me remind you, this strength is available to you. Not because you're superhuman, but because you're committed. Committed to growth. Committed to showing up. Committed to the version of you on the other side of hardship. You don't have to be fearless, just faithful. You don't need the perfect plan, just the next step. You don't need to eliminate all discomfort. Just decide you won't be ruled by it. That's mental toughness. That's the resilience that creates champion. So the next time adversity knocks, don't ask, how do I get out of this? Ask, how can I grow from this? Because that question, my friend, will change your life. Procrastination is one of the greatest thieves of opportunity. It steals your potential one. Delayed decision at a time. It disguises itself as comfort, as caution, even as cleverness. But underneath it's resistance. It's fear in a mask. And if you let it stay too long, it will rob you of the life you were meant to live. Let me tell you something important. You don't overcome procrastination with willpower alone. You overcome it with strategy, with structure, with understanding. You overcome it when you learn how to create motion. Not wait for motivation, because motion creates clarity. And once you begin to move, that movement builds momentum, and momentum is how we beat procrastination. So today, I want to share with you 5 ways to stop procrastinating and start producing. These aren't tips. They're transformations. They'll take you from being a chronic delayer to someone who delivers, from waiting for the perfect time to creating progress in real time. And that shift, my friend, will change everything. The first way to stop procrastinating is to break the illusion of someday. Someday is a lie we tell ourselves to stay comfortable. Someday I'll start the book. Someday I'll launch the business. Someday I'll get serious about my health. But here's the truth. Someday isn't a day on the calendar. It's a fantasy. It doesn't exist. And if you keep waiting for it, your goals will remain on the shelf, gathering dust. You have to bring your dreams out of the clouds and down to the ground. Replace someday with today. Replace eventually with by noon. Give your vision a deadline. Get specific. Write it down. Assign a date, a time, a location, because what gets scheduled gets done. As I always say, discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment, and that bridge is built with action, not intention. The second way to beat procrastination is to start before you're ready. Too many people wait for perfect clarity, perfect confidence, perfect circumstances, but perfection is the enemy of progress. And the truth is, readiness is a myth. You don't get ready and then act. You act, and through that action, you become ready. I always tell people the first step doesn't have to be flawless, it just has to be forward. You can fix a bad page, but you can't fix a blank one. You can adjust your strategy, but only if you start moving. So stop overanalyzing. Stop rehearsing in your head. Take the step, make the call, write the paragraph. Do the reps, because motion beats meditation when it comes to results. I once worked with a man who had everything lined up for his business launch, except action. He kept tweaking his logo, redoing his website, reading more books. I told him, you're mistaking preparation for production. There's a time for planning. Yes, but there comes a point when planning becomes hiding. And once he launched imperfectly, nervously, messily, he realized the market would teach him more in a week than books could in a year. That's the power of doing. The third way to stop procrastinating is to create friction for distraction and reduce friction for action. Let me explain. Your environment is either helping you or hindering you. If it's easier to scroll than to study, easier to snack than to train, easier to talk than to create, you'll drift toward comfort every time. Why? Because your brain is wired for ease. So make distractions hard to reach. Delete the app. Put the phone in another room. Turn off notifications and make your productive habits easier to start. Lay out your clothes the night before. Preload your workspace. Break big tasks into bite-sized actions. The goal isn't to force yourself to work. It's to remove excuses not to. Your environment is part of your strategy. Set it up to work for you, not against you. Remember, you rise to the level of your standards, but you fall to the level of your systems. Build systems that make producing inevitable and procrastinating inconvenient. The fourth way to defeat procrastination is to shrink the task until it feels doable. One of the main reasons we delay is because the thing we're facing feels too big, too overwhelming, too ambiguous. So the brain says, later, not because you're lazy, but because you haven't given it a small enough starting point. Instead of write the book, say write the first sentence. Instead of clean the garage, say clear one shelf. Instead of get in shape, say walk for 10 minutes. The key is to make the starting line visible. When the task feels manageable, the mind stops resisting. And once you start, you often keep going. I call this the 2-minute rule. If a task takes less than 2 minutes, do it now. And if it's a bigger task, just start with 2 minutes. That small beginning breaks the spell of procrastination. Because once you're in motion, you're no longer avoiding, you're advancing. The fifth and final way to stop procrastinating is to raise your personal standard. Let me tell you what I mean. Many people treat procrastination like a bad habit, but really it's a reflection of what they tolerate. They've decided, consciously or not, that it's okay to delay, that it's acceptable to break promises to themselves. And that standard keeps them stuck. But when you raise the standard, when you decide, I'm a person who follows through, everything changes. You no longer wait for inspiration. You no longer give yourself a pass. You take action, not because it's easy, but because it's who you are. That's the shift. Identity over emotion. Values over feelings. You might say, but Jim, what if I mess up? What if I procrastinate again? And I'd say, welcome to being human. This isn't about perfection. It's about persistence. When you fall, stand up faster. When you delay, re-engage quicker. When you notice resistance, respond with responsibility. I've seen people go from serial procrastinators to consistent producers, not through magic, but through mindset, through a shift in identity. They stopped asking, how can I feel motivated? And started asking, how would a disciplined person act right now? And they acted accordingly. That's how you start producing. That's how you break the cycle. So let me ask you, what are you avoiding? What dream, what decision, what discipline has been waiting for you to take action? What are you pretending is a timing issue when it's really a commitment issue? Today is the day to face it, not tomorrow, not next week. Today, take the first step. Start before you're ready. Adjust your environment. Shrink the task. Raise your standard. Do what you can with what you have right now. Because the more often you act, the less often you'll stall. And the more you produce, the more your confidence grows. Confidence is not the cause of action, it's the result of it. You can beat procrastination, not with guilt, but with strategy. Not with shame, but with structure. And when you do, you'll unlock a level of momentum that will astonish you. You'll no longer be at the mercy of moods. You'll be driven by mission. As I always say, don't let your days slip through your fingers like sand. Grab hold. Build them, shape them, live them, because your future is waiting and it rewards those who stop procrastinating and start producing. If you want to transform your life, start with your morning, because how you begin your day often determines how the rest of it unfolds. The morning is your launch pad. It's the quiet, golden hour before the noise of the world sets in. And if you can win that first hour, you set the tone for everything that follows. I used to believe success was about big wins, major events, bold moves, big breaks. But over the years, I came to realize it's the small disciplines, practiced consistently, that shape a great life. And there's no better place to build those disciplines than in your mornings. That's your personal hour before the world asks anything of you, before distractions creep in. Now let me be clear. You don't need to be a morning person. This isn't about waking up at 4 a.m. and running a marathon before breakfast. It's about intention. It's about rhythm. It's about taking control of your time before your time takes control of you. So today, I want to walk you through 5 ways to master your mornings for success. Not just productivity, but purpose, clarity, and momentum. The first way to master your morning is to start the night before. Most people sabotage their mornings with poor evening routines. They go to bed late, overstimulated, unprepared, and then they wake up groggy, behind schedule, scrambling to catch up. That's not mastery. That's survival. So begin your morning routine in the evening. Lay out your clothes. Plan your top priorities. Wind down your mind. No screens, no chaos. Set yourself up to wake up with calm, not chaos. As I always say, the best mornings begin with a good night's sleep. Don't trust the morning to chance. Prepare it with purpose. I often ask people, what time do you start your day? And they'll say 6:30 a.m. I say, no, you started it at midnight when you chose how you'd end the night. Discipline in the evening makes mastery in the morning possible. The second way to master your morning is to wake up on purpose, not on alarm. Let me explain. Most people wake up reactively. The alarm goes off. They hit snooze. They roll out of bed in resistance. From the moment they open their eyes, they're already behind. But successful people rise with a reason. They get up with intention, not obligation. Have a reason to get out of bed that's bigger than comfort. Maybe it's your goals. Maybe it's your health. Maybe it's your family. Whatever it is, define it, because purpose is the ultimate alarm clock. It wakes you up better than any buzzer ever could. When I began to attach meaning to my mornings, everything changed. I no longer saw waking up early as a chore. It became my time to grow, my time to think, my time to get ahead while others were sleeping in. That's not discipline, it's investment. The third way is to guard the first hour like gold. Your first hour is sacred. It's when your mind is most impressionable. What you feed, it sets the tone for the rest of the day. So be careful what you consume. Don't start with chaos. Start with clarity. Avoid diving into your phone, emails, or social media the moment you wake up. That's like inviting the entire world into your mind before you've even said good morning to yourself. Instead, feed your mind with intention. Read something enriching, reflect, journal, meditate, move your body, review your goals. That first hour is your foundation. Build it strong. I used to begin my days with the news, the markets, the noise. And I noticed something: I was carrying other people's problems before I'd even tended to my own priorities. So I made a shift. I began the day with silence, with reading, with direction, and the results were staggering. More clarity, more focus, more control. The fourth way to master your morning is to identify and act on your number one priority. Not your to-do list, not every little errand. Just one thing, the most important thing, the thing that moves the needle. When you identify that and you do it early, you build momentum. Ask yourself each morning, if I only got one thing done today that truly mattered, what would it be? Then do that first, before the interruptions, before the fires, before the day hijacks your focus. That one act of discipline creates a ripple effect that boosts your confidence and sharpens your clarity. I always say, major time is spent on major things, and the morning is prime time, so don't waste it on minor details. Use that clarity to gain traction, because the energy you create in the first part of your day becomes the fuel for the rest of it. The fifth and final way to master your mornings is to review and renew your vision daily. Most people drift through their days without direction. They don't remember what they're working toward. Their goals fade into the background. But if you want to live intentionally, you need to reconnect with your vision every single morning. Look at your goals. Visualize your future. Speak it out loud. Feel the pull of who you're becoming. Because when your vision is strong, distractions lose their power. When you know where you're headed, it's easier to say no to what doesn't serve you. I once mentored a young executive who had all the tools but no routine. His mornings were reactive, rushed, and random. So I challenged him. For 30 days, spend the first 15 minutes of your day reviewing your goals and visualizing success. At first he felt silly, but by week 2, something clicked. He was focused, clear, driven, and within 3 months, his productivity and peace had doubled. That's the power of morning vision. It reconnects you to your why. And when you live from that place, you don't need motivation. You've got mission. So let me ask you, how do your mornings begin? Are you creating your day or reacting to it? Are you leading your time or being led by it? The answer might just be the key to unlocking your next level. You don't need to overhaul your life. You don't need to wake up before the sun. You just need a few intentional choices done consistently to transform your mornings and through them your life. Small hinges swing big doors, and the habits you build before breakfast will echo through your results long after sunset. Wake up with purpose. Prepare the night before, guard your focus, act on what matters, connect with your vision. Do that day after day, and you'll find success arriving not as a surprise, but as a rhythm. As I always say, don't start your day until you've finished it in your mind, because once you've mastered the morning, the rest of the day tends to fall in line. Success isn't a matter of chance. It's a matter of choice. And those choices are shaped by your mindset, how you think, how you interpret the world, how you respond to pressure. That's what separates winners from wishers. Winners don't just have more talent. They think differently. They respond differently. They see differently. Now, I've met brilliant people who never broke through. I've seen gifted individuals sabotage their own success, not because they didn't have the skill, but because they didn't have the mindset. The habits of the mind, my friend, are just as important as the habits of the body. And if you don't shape your thinking will shape you, and often in ways you don't like. So today I want to walk you through 5 ways to develop a winner's mindset. Not just the mindset to start strong, but the mindset to endure, to adapt, to overcome, and to win with character and clarity. Because a winning mindset isn't loud or flashy. It's focused, it's consistent, it's built daily, and it's yours to build, starting now. The first way to develop a winner's mindset is to see setbacks as feedback, not failure. Most people crumble when things don't go their way. They take failure personally. They internalize it. They use it as proof they should stop. But winners look at the same setback and say, what is this trying to teach me? They understand that failure is a signal, not a sentence. It's part of the journey. It's how you learn, how you adjust, how you grow. Every successful person I know has a trail of failures behind them. The difference is they didn't let the failure define them. They used it to refine them. I always say, if you fall, fall forward. Fall learning, fall improving. Don't stay down. Don't replay the loss over and over in your mind. Look for the lesson, apply it, and move. That resilience, that bounce-back mentality is a hallmark of a winner's mind. The second way to build this mindset is to focus on what you can control. There's a lot in this world you can't control. Other people's decisions, unexpected obstacles, external conditions. But winners don't waste energy on what's outside their influence. They double down on what they can change, their effort, their preparation, their attitude, their response. You can't control the weather, but you can control your umbrella. You can't control the economy, but you can control your budget. You can't control someone else's opinion, but you can control your self-talk. That's where your power lies. Winners live in that circle of control. I see too many people burn themselves out trying to fix things that don't belong to them. That's a recipe for frustration and fatigue. But when you lock in on your lane, on your habits, your focus, your behavior, you gain traction, and traction leads to transformation. The third way to cultivate a winner's mindset is to surround yourself with voices that sharpen you, not soften you. Your environment shapes your energy. The people around you either call you higher or pull you lower. So ask yourself, who's speaking into your mindset? Who's setting your standard? Who are you listening to? Winners seek feedback. They seek accountability. They don't just want comfort, they want growth. And growth often comes from people who challenge you, who stretch you, who won't let you settle. That's not criticism, it's commitment. Iron sharpens iron. I've always believed that you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if you want a winner's mindset, spend time with winners. Read what they read. Listen to what they listen to. Absorb their language, their belief, their pace. Let their fire ignite yours. The fourth way to shape your thinking is to train your inner dialogue. The conversation you have with yourself all day long is the most important conversation you'll ever have. And for most people, That dialogue is full of doubt, delay, and defeat, but a winner's mind is trained to speak life, not limitation. When you catch yourself saying, "I'm not ready," replace it with "I'm growing." When you say, "This is too hard," replace it with "This is stretching me." Language matters. Words are tools. Winners use those tools to build belief, to construct focus, to create energy. One of the greatest shifts you can make is to move from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. Don't say, "I can't." Say, "I'm learning." Don't say, "I failed." Say, "I found a way that didn't work." Speak in alignment with your future, not your fear. That shift alone can change everything. I remember mentoring a young sales professional who was incredibly gifted, but his self-talk was toxic. Every challenge became a crisis in his mind, so we worked on it. Every day he had to write 3 affirmations, statements of strength, of truth, of identity. And over time, that rewiring changed his performance. Why? Because mindset drives behavior, and language drives mindset. The 5th and final way to develop a winner's mindset is to commit to long-term vision over short-term emotion. Let me explain. Winners don't make decisions based on how they feel in the moment. They make decisions based on who they're becoming and where they're going. They don't sacrifice their future for comfort today. This is where most people fall off track. They get excited, they start fast, but then they get tired, distracted, discouraged, and because they're not rooted in vision, they quit. But winners keep showing up, not because it's easy, but because they've already decided who they are and what they want. As I always say, discipline weighs ounces. Regret weighs tons. Choose the weight of consistency today so you don't carry the weight of regret tomorrow. Lock in your vision. Write it down. Review it often. Let it drive your schedule, your choices, your pace. That clarity is the compass of champions. You see, the winner's mindset isn't about arrogance or aggression. It's about alignment. It's about choosing growth over comfort, lessons over losses, progress over perfection. It's about believing that your best days are ahead and acting like it. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be the most talented. But you do have to think like a winner consistently, deliberately, and daily. That's what separates the average from the exceptional. And it's available to you today, right now. So what's your next step? Maybe it's changing your inner dialogue. Maybe it's upgrading your environment. Maybe it's recommitting to your vision. Whatever it is, take it. Not tomorrow, not someday. Now, because winners don't wait, they move. And that mindset, built daily, will carry you farther than any shortcut ever could. As I always say, success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. And mindset, that winner's mindset, is the foundation of every one of those disciplines. Build it, protect it, strengthen it, and you'll be amazed at what you can achieve. Wealth is not something you stumble into by accident. It's not reserved for the lucky or the elite. It's built day by day, choice by choice, habit by habit. I've often said that success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines, practiced every day. And the same holds true for wealth. If you want to build it, you have to live in a way that invites it. Now let's be clear. Wealth isn't just about money. It's about freedom. It's about options. It's about having the resources to live intentionally, to give generously, to build legacy. Money is simply a tool, a powerful one. Yes, but still a tool. And like any tool, it requires skill, awareness, and stewardship to use well. The tragedy is that most people never learn the habits that lead to wealth. They work hard, but save little. They earn more, but spend more. They chase income, but never build assets. And they wonder why, year after year, financial stress remains a constant companion. But it doesn't have to be that way. Not if you build the right habits. So today I want to share 5 powerful ways to build wealth through daily habits. Not get-rich-quick schemes, not secret tricks, just simple, solid practices that create long-term results. Because wealth isn't an event, it's a process. And that process begins with what you do each day. The first way to build wealth through daily habits is to track every dollar. That's right. Know where your money is going. Wealth begins with awareness. If you don't measure it, you can't manage it. Too many people avoid their finances out of fear or frustration, but winners lean in. They get honest about their numbers. Every day, take 5 minutes to look at your spending. Not once a month, not when you feel broke. Every day, what did you spend? Why did you spend it? Was it aligned with your values? Was it necessary? That habit of financial reflection builds awareness, and awareness leads to control. I always say, don't let your money disappear in the fog. Shine a light on it. Create clarity. Because the clearer your picture, the better your decisions, and better decisions repeated daily build wealth. Second habit is to pay yourself first before you pay the bills. Before you buy the coffee, before you do anything else, save something. It doesn't have to be a lot. It just has to be consistent. 10%, 5%, whatever you can. The amount matters less than the discipline. See, most people save what's left over, and there's never anything left over. But wealthy people, they save off the top. They prioritize it. They treat their future self like a bill that must be paid. That habit of putting yourself first signals to your brain and your behavior that you are building something bigger. Even if it sits just a few dollars a day, the act of saving builds momentum. It builds identity. It says, I sit in someone who prepares. I sit in someone who builds. I sit in someone who builds. I sit in someone who respects money enough to protect it. And once saving becomes automatic, investing is the natural next step, which brings us to the third habit. Invest consistently, no matter the conditions. The market will rise and fall. The news will create fear, but wealthy people know time in the market beats timing the market. And the best time to invest is when you have money to invest. Make it a habit. Every week, every month, put something into your future. It could be stocks, real estate, your business, your education. The vehicle may change, but the principle remains. Plant seeds. The more you plant, the more you harvest. And wealth is the result of that harvest. I remember when I started investing, it wasn't glamorous. It wasn't exciting, but it was consistent. Over time, those small deposits became large balances, not because of luck, but because of time and discipline. That's the power of compounding, and it only works for those who show up consistently. The fourth way to build wealth through daily habits is to reduce what I call invisible expenses. These are the small leaks that quietly sink the ship. Subscriptions you don't use, impulse purchases you forget, fees you ignore, interest charges you justify. All those little costs stacked up over time can cost you thousands. So every day, or at least every week, audit your habits. Look at what you're spending that adds no value. And don't just cut redirect. Take that $5 coffee and put it into a savings app. Cancel the gym you don't use and invest in a walking habit. Redirect money from waste to wealth. That's not deprivation. That's discipline. Wealth isn't just about making more, it's about keeping more. And the habit of plugging the leaks is one of the most powerful wealth strategies there is. Not because it makes you rich overnight, but because it changes your relationship with money. You stop being casual and start being intentional. The fifth and final daily habit is to build your earning capacity. Listen closely, your income will rarely exceed your personal development. You want to earn more? Then become more, learn more, serve more, offer more value. The marketplace rewards those who grow. So every day, ask yourself, what skill am I sharpening? What knowledge am I acquiring? What value am I adding? Read, listen, practice, study. Don't wait for someone to promote you. Promote yourself through progress. The more valuable you become, the more wealth you can create. I've seen this play out time and again. The person who commits to growth ends up out-earning the person who relies on talent alone. Not because they're better, but because they've built the habit of getting better. And that habit compounds. Just like money, just like reputation, just like results. So let's review, not as a summary, but as a rhythm. Track your spending. Pay yourself first. Invest consistently. Cut the leaks. Grow your value. Do that daily. Not perfectly, not obsessively, just consistently. That's how wealth is built. Not in a flash, but in a rhythm, in a set of disciplines that shape your financial future one day at a time. Now you might say, Jim, what if I've messed up? What if I've made mistakes with money? My friend, welcome to the club. We've all been there. Wealth isn't about never making mistakes. It's about learning from them, adjusting, and moving forward. Start today. Start small. Build a habit. Let the habit build the result. Wealth is not a lottery ticket. It's a lifestyle. And that lifestyle begins with what you do today, tomorrow, and the next day. As I always say, the best time to start was yesterday. The second best time is now. Start building. Start saving. Start investing. Not because it's easy, but because it's worth it. And in time, your habits will speak for you. They'll tell the story of a life well built, a future well funded, a legacy well earned. If I've learned anything in this life, it's this. Growth is not automatic. It's intentional. You don't become better simply by getting older. You become better by deciding to grow, day in and day out, through good times and bad, through success and setbacks, through joy and pain. Growth is the great equalizer. It's the habit that turns average people into extraordinary leaders. Now, before we dive into the 5 ways to keep growing, no matter what, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've covered so far. Over these past 8 lessons, we've explored the foundations of personal development, discipline, and self-leadership. We began with self-discipline, understanding that success is not something you chase, it's something you attract by the person you become. We talked about overcoming limiting beliefs, how your past does not equal your future, and how thoughts become architecture for your destiny. We examined the power of mental toughness, building grit and resilience in the face of adversity. We uncovered ways to stop procrastinating and start producing, reminding ourselves that delayed greatness is often denied greatness. Then we shifted to mastering your mornings, crafting a daily rhythm that sets the tone for success. We built a winner's mindset, learned how to think like champions, and how to shape our inner dialogue. We broke down the habits that lead to wealth, not through fantasy, but through consistency. And in every part, we return to the same truth. It's the small disciplines done daily that change your life forever. So now, as we bring this journey to a close, I want to talk to you about something more permanent, something deeper, something lasting. Because no matter where you are, winning or struggling, ahead or behind, the goal is not to peak, the goal is to grow. The question isn't set, how do I get there? The real question is, how do I keep growing no matter what? Let's today explore 5 ways to do just that. The first way to keep growing is to make learning a lifestyle. Don't treat education like a phase. Treat it like fuel. Winners read books. They listen to podcasts. They study mentors. They seek wisdom, not because they have to, but because they want to. It's how they stay sharp. It's how they stay ahead. I've always said formal education will make you a living, but self-education will make you a fortune. If you're not growing, you're slowing. The day you stop learning is the day you start declining. So become a student of life. Ask questions. Stay curious. Keep sharpening your tools. Set a daily goal. Just 30 minutes of growth. Read a chapter. Listen to a teaching. Review your journal. Watch someone better than you and take notes. Because the more you learn, the more you earn. Not just money, but influence, peace, perspective. The second way to keep growing is to embrace discomfort. Growth and comfort do not coexist. You will never grow inside your comfort zone. Growth requires stretch. It requires awkwardness, risk, and uncertainty. But here's the secret. Every time you lean into discomfort, you expand your capacity. Most people retreat when things get uncomfortable, but not the growing person. They lean in. They say, this pain has purpose. They use discomfort as data. They understand that the stretch zone is the growth zone. So say yes to the presentation, even if you're nervous. Ask the tough question, even if it makes your voice shake. Try the new habit, even if it feels foreign, because everything you want, but don't yet have, is just outside your comfort zone. Step into it. The third way to keep growing is to reflect regularly. Growth without reflection becomes noise. It becomes motion without meaning. Winners don't sit, just do. They review. They ask what worked, what didn't sit, what did I learn, what needs to change. Make it a habit to sit with yourself. Weekly, daily if you can. Grab a journal. Ask questions. Look at your goals. Revisit your progress. Don't just go through life. Get something from it. That's what reflection gives you. Insight. You can't manage what you don't measure, and you can't grow what you don't understand. So take the time, not just to plan, but to pause. Because growth isn't just about doing more. It's about becoming more intentional with what you do. The fourth way to stay in growth mode is to serve others. Yes, serve. Growth becomes stagnant when it's all about you. But when you take what you're learning and give it away, when you coach, mentor, teach, or encourage, it multiplies. That's the secret of legacy. Growth shared becomes growth sustained. Every time you pour into someone else, you reinforce your own growth. You deepen your understanding. You increase your impact. And most of all, you stay grateful. Because service reminds you of how far you've come. Find someone to pour into. A teammate, a colleague, a young person who needs direction. Share your story. Offer your time. Give your ear. Because when you lift someone else, you rise with them. And in the process, you grow again. And finally, the fifth way to keep growing no matter what. Stay anchored to your purpose. Growth without purpose becomes burnout. You start running in circles, chasing goals that don't satisfy. But when your growth is anchored in mission, when you remember why you're growing, you stay energized, even when life gets hard. Ask yourself regularly, what am I doing this for? Who benefits when I get better? What vision is calling me forward? That clarity will protect you from distraction, comparison, and discouragement. Purpose creates pull. When you live with purpose, growth isn't a burden. It's a joy. You no longer have to, you get to, and that shift in mindset changes everything. So as we close this series, let me leave you with one final thought. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have it all figured out, but you do have to commit. You have to show up. You have to do the work day by day, quietly, consistently, faithfully, because in the end, the real reward isn't the money, the title, the applause. The real reward is who you become in the process, the habits you build, the wisdom you gain, the strength you develop, the peace you carry. So keep growing, keep showing up, keep becoming, and as I always say, don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. Don't wish for less problems, wish for more skills. And don't wish for success, work for it, daily, diligently, decisively, because the best investment you'll ever make is the one you make in yourself.